Welcome to the training for the completion of the PR6200 School Choice Option, Title 8, Section 8532 of the ESSA Consolidated Compliance Report. The usual navigation buttons are at the top of the report. Use this form to report compliance with Title 8, Section 8532. Use zeros when questions do not apply. Part 1A. LEA Report on Persistently Dangerous Schools. Complete this part to report on persistently dangerous schools. Select yes or no to indicate whether any students were transferred from any campus because the campus was identified as persistently dangerous. If you answer no, line 2 is disabled. If you select yes, type the number of students who were transferred from another campus because the home campus was identified as persistently dangerous. Part B, Violent Criminal Incidents. Complete this part to report on incidents of violent crime. For number 1, select yes or no to indicate whether your LEA had any violent criminal incidents on any campus during the compliance report grant period. If you select no, line 2 in this part is disabled. If you select yes, indicate how many violent criminal incidents occurred. For number 3, select yes or no to indicate whether the LEA had any victimized students. If you answer no, the rest of this part is disabled. If you select yes, enter the number of victimized students whose parents requested a school transfer under Section 8532. For number 5, enter the number of victimized students who transferred to another campus under Section 8532. If fewer victimized students transferred is less than requested a transfer under Section 8532, include an explanation of the difference. On number 7, enter the number of campuses within the LEA's boundaries to which victimized students transferred. On number 8, enter the number of campuses outside the LEA's boundaries to which victimized students identified in line 5 transferred. Next, we will look at Part 2 of the 6200, Title 8, Section 8532, School Choice Option. This document is intended to assist LEAs in completing the program compliance self-check sections. It can also assist LEAs as they implement their programs. Please note, documenting overall compliance for a program requirement may require several forms of documentation to be maintained locally and available upon request by TEA and/or an auditor. The compliance items listed are a selection of program compliance requirements for the compliance reporting purposes, and not an all-inclusive listing of all requirements for a particular program. For a complete listing of all unsafe school choice option requirements, please see the Unsafe School Choice Option Handbook. Part 2, Program Compliance Self-Check. Complete this section to indicate your compliance with the program requirements. For each of the requirements listed, click yes, no, or NA to indicate whether you complied with the requirement. Click the appropriate response. If in compliance, the LEA assures that it has documentation showing compliance is readily available upon request. If the LEA selects not in compliance, that means the LEA acknowledges that it is not in compliance with the requirement. If not in compliance, the LEA will use the space provided to explain how it plans to meet compliance for the following year. Do not select no if the requirement is not applicable. Not applicable is only an option for some questions. If you click NA, explain why the requirement is not applicable in the box provided. Part 2A1. The LEA, as a condition of receiving funds under the Every Student Succeeds Act, established and implements a policy requiring that a student attending a persistently dangerous public elementary school or secondary school, or a student who becomes a victim of a violent criminal offense while in or on the grounds of a public elementary or secondary school that the student attends, is offered and allowed to attend a safe public elementary or secondary school within the local education agency, including a public charter school. Please note, if another campus is not available within the LEA, the policy should provide for other types of services to ensure the safety of the student. In addition, the LEA is encouraged to attempt to secure a cooperative agreement with another LEA to accept transfers when reasonable and appropriate. If in compliance, the LEA assures that it has documentation showing compliance readily available upon request. Strongest documentation: a copy of policy approved as per LEA's policies and procedures. Documentation that any student who has been affected by either of these circumstances has been offered the opportunity to transfer. Please note that the LEA is required to have the policy regardless whether any campuses have been identified as persistently dangerous or if any students have been a victim of a violent criminal offense at school. The LEA is required to have policies in place that address both these contingencies. A charter school is a school of choice, but must provide other types of services to ensure the safety of the student. The LEA may have other documentation that potentially might show compliance. In the event of an audit, TEA or audit staff would make the final determination concerning whether the documentation is sufficient to demonstrate compliance with the program requirement. If not in compliance, use the space below to describe how the LEA plans to meet compliance for the following year. A2, Program Coordination Integration. The LEA notified parents that their student or students may transfer and attend a safe public elementary or secondary school within the local education agency, including a public charter school. For students who are enrolled in a persistently dangerous school, notification was made within 14 calendar days of notification from TEA. Students who are victims of a violent criminal act, notification was made within 14 calendar days of the incident. Check in compliance if the LEA assures that it has documentation showing compliance readily available upon request. Strongest documentation recommended is copy of written notification procedures, list of campuses identified as persistently dangerous schools. If LEA has no campuses on the PDS list, this serves as documentation that the LEA has met a part of this requirement related to PDS. Letters to parents of any student who has been affected by either of these circumstances, documenting the offer of the opportunity to transfer. The LEA may have other documentation that potentially might show compliance. In the event of an audit, TEA or audit staff would make the final determination concerning whether the documentation is sufficient to demonstrate compliance with this program requirement. For A2, if not in compliance, please use the space provided to describe how the LEA plans to meet compliance for the following year. If not applicable, the LEA assures the following reason applies. Please note, no other reason is acceptable. The LEA had no campuses identified as persistently dangerous schools, and the LEA had no students who were victims of a violent crime. If you wish to provide additional information,
Space is provided in Part 3 for your convenience. This is optional. This concludes the training on PR6200 School Choice Option. For questions about this report, please contact ESSA support at tea.texas.gov.